The place where I'm working is known as Swami Vivekanand Drug Addiction Center. I did not know that why this center was named after Swami Vivekanand. But somehow or the other, I came to know that this name was actually given by Professor J.S. Bajaj. He, in his inaugural address, said that I have named this center after the Swami Vivekanand because the person who works in a place, he tries to emulate the qualities of the person on whose name the center is named. जैसे आपका गुरु नानक हॉस्पिटल है तो आप you will think about Guru Nanak Dev. Once you are working in Swami Vivekanand Center, you will think about or read at least somewhat about Swami Vivekanand, who he was, what he did, what is his relation with the drug addiction and all that. And I have mentioned a quote here. Swami Vivekanand once spoke of himself as condensed India. His life and teachings are of immense value. Swami Vivekanand Addiction Center was actually the idea of Professor J.S. Bajaj only. And actually he got 25 doctors from Punjab, trained from NDTC AIIMS at that time, about 5 years back. Probably he had a vision that Punjab will face a big problem of addiction in the days to come. I sometimes fail to understand how this vision came into his mind, but I do know that there is definitely something known as foresight or something in the mind of the people at that level who thought of making a 50-bedded addiction center in the district of Amritsar. And just to let you know, we are doing human service. I have treated about 15,000 patients suffering from heroin addiction. Of course, alcohol and tobacco addiction do form a part of the whole, problem of drug addiction. Now, as far as my topic of integrating primary, secondary and emergency care is concerned, this is the pyramidal model we'll try to understand for students. Primary health center, they lie at the primary care level, and the district hospitals, they come to the secondary care level, and the tip of the pyramid forms the medical colleges or the higher institutions like AIIMS or even institutions like IHBAS, NIMHANS like. Now the patients from this primary healthcare areas, say villages, so they can just go to the district hospitals and they can be just referred by the system to the medical colleges for the emergency care. But it is a vertical access for the patients, but there is a lateral access as well. There is no restriction on this that a patient cannot go from a primary care, that a patient cannot go to primary care to the secondary care or to the tertiary care directly. He can go anywhere because he has a right to report to any type of doctor. And moreover, it is the flexibility of our system that patient can seek treatment of his choice depending upon his so many factors, his knowledge, awareness, availability of money, funds, etc. Now coming to the primary care doctor, so I have just tried to put in the role of a primary care doctor in alcoholism. So first that he has to understand that the disease model of alcoholism. So alcoholism is a disease. We have to, we just have to call it that it's a character disturbance only, that one drinks, that we just take it vaguely. It's not like that. It's almost, determined or established by the scientists that it's a disease. And we have to understand it as if it's a medical disorder like diabetes, hypertension, asthma. It has to be taken in those terms only. So the doctor should be aware about this thing. It's very important for you youngsters, especially you here. Most of the time, I think most of you will go to the primary care facility and you will be the people who may be general practitioners. In fact, I remember late Professor Harcharan Singh, who was professor of SPM. He used to teach us only one thing, that beta, 60% of you will be primary care doctors. You will be GPs. Just to earn your bread, you have to go to villages, to small cities or small towns in order to earn your livelihood. Now, so it's important to understand that it's a disease model. Understand that alcohol is a disease. And then we have to understand how to identify the problem of drinking. Supposing some woman say, her husband drinks alcohol off and on. But once he drinks off and on, say after 10 days or 15 days, he just thrashes her. That means he is a problem drinker. It's not that he is an occasional drinker. कि 15 दिन के बाद पी है जी कोई खास बात नहीं है. You have to identify this man that he is a problem drinker. For identifying, we have certain instruments. One of them is cage, which Dr. Chadha and many others talked. Other is audit, and other is mast. So other is SIVA. So these instruments have to be in the knowledge of the primary care doctor to identify the problem drinkers. The third point is that physical problems of alcohol consumption are very important. So all of us doctors, basically, we are supposed to know about as far as the physical problems are concerned. 99% of the thrust in medical colleges is given only on the physical problems, and 1% is just hardly psychiatry. So understanding of alcohol liver disease, which we today had a good lecture by Professor Chawla, peripheral neuropathy, pancreatitis, peptic disease, and one case encephalopathy and psychosis are some of the physical disorders related with alcohol. So the alcohol-related harms the physician should know at a primary care level. Harms like that patient can go for drunk driving, go for accidents, go for problems in the spouse of the drinker person, or many other problems, social problems, what the alcohol can do to the society, to the family, that the family gets a sort of a bad name as a sharabi log hain, inna de apni kudi bhi na vyao, inna de rishta na karo. So all these things a primary care doctor should try to understand. So then simple counseling techniques, which I have put it, such as listening carefully, even that is very important. And I am very frank in telling you that I do not know the very big nuances of psychotherapy. What is all this about? Behavior therapy, so many things come in the literature. I qualified for psychiatry, but I just know that simple listening is the only technique which I practice, and I think this is the best. You just keep on listening to the patient, and ultimately you get a solution to his problems, and you can give the feedback in a non-judgmental way without taking any sides. Now, as far as the role of a primary care doctor is concerned, he can do some management also. For example, he can recognize the alcohol withdrawal features. He can communicate the significance of the same to the client. He can prescribe benzodiazepines in the detoxification phase if their patient is having the mild withdrawal symptoms, and he should have the ability to refer to higher centers. Once he identifies that he is a patient with alcohol dependence, so he should be able to refer to higher centers, especially the patients who have heavy alcohol consumption pattern, or who have psychiatric problems, or who have current evidence of seizure, or suffering from delirium tremens, head injury, or suspected metabolic disorders. Then we have at a secondary level, we have the district doctor, district psychiatrist. He may be a psychiatrist, or he may be a physician, or he may be a MBBS doctor even. But in Punjab, in every district there are psychiatrists. So the duties of the psychiatrist are that he should be able to, of course, recognize the dependence syndrome, especially by the presence of alcohol withdrawal features. He should be able to initiate and plan OPD detoxification by prescribing benzodiazepines, especially try to prescribe long-term acting benzodiazepines like chlordiazepoxide for 4-5 days or up to 10 days, and then taper off this chlordiazepoxide to minimum within 10 to 12 days. Those who are having liver damage, they should be prescribed lorazepam or oxazepam. Now another thing is to motivate the client to remain abstinent by discussing the risk of developing dependence syndrome and physical problems of the patient, and managing the withdrawal as inpatient as well. So at a secondary care level, doctor, he is supposed to look after the patient as outpatient detoxification management as well as indoor detoxification management he should be able to do, and should be able to accurately manage the patient during the detoxification phase. So he should be able to differentiate between simple and complicated withdrawal, first stage, second phase or third phase, and the post detoxification motivation enhancement, because once the patient is hospitalized, that is one of the best platforms where a doctor can interact with the patient by brief sessions or long-term sessions and enhance the motivation of the patient during those times. offer and monitor disulfiram therapy for 1 year. I often do, what happens in my ward, patient says कि जी ਅਸੀਂ हफ्ता रवांगे डॉक्टर साहब, but I try to pull them over 15 days, because during those 5-10 days I am able to communicate with them more comfortably. I am able to examine the cognitive functions at that stage in a better way. I am able to assess the psychopathology also in a better way, because the patient is at that time free from alcohol. So try to increase the stay up to 15 days or 20 days as far as possible, but take consideration of the other factors as well. Now, offer and monitor disulfiram therapy to the patients who are well motivated and accept the treatment, apparently free from relative contraindications of disulfiram therapy. Now, one must remember that disulfiram therapy should be given in a very supervised way. In this, it should not be against the will of the patient. It should be by the consent of the patient. Written consent of the patient is very important. You can have from the tertiary care centers small consent forms printed and keep them with you at secondary level, and you can just monitor that. You can just get that, just read it thoroughly to the patient, explain them how the disulfiram acts and how it can cause reactions. The reaction can be dangerous to the patient and should not take alcohol 5-6 days after the starting of initiation of disulfiram, as well after leaving disulfiram for a few days. Alcohol should not be used. Also remember that metronidazole also can cause that DAR reaction, disulfamethron reaction. So sometimes our physician friends are prescribing metronidazole or tindazole, so they should be well aware about this thing. Now, the tertiary care, secondary care doctor should be able to refer those patients if the patient is having mental disorder, for example, delirium, say dementia, then say depression, then psychotic disorders, mood disorders like depression or say mania or schizophrenia, because schizophreniform type of disorders in which the patient has delusions of jealousy towards the wife. These are very common. So the patient should be referred in such cases by the secondary care doctor to the emergency care doctor. Or if the patient has comorbidity, it is not the alcohol alone which the patient is abusing. Many times the patient is abusing other drugs as well, because alcohol actually is a gateway drug. Alcohol and smoking, they form the gateway drugs to harder drugs. Then they start taking, that opioid drugs in the form of heroin or opium or cocaine or other, highly addictive drugs. So always refer such patients to the tertiary care or the general hospital psychiatry unit, the medical college. In the medical college department, the department should be able to differentiate dependent and non-dependent drinkers and detoxify both inpatient as well outpatient dependent drinkers, and should be able to use oxazepam or lorazepam for those with liver disease and clonazepam for those without, to differentiate the severity of the withdrawal states and predict delirium tremens by evaluating risk factors such as heavy consumption, etc. Probably I am repeating the things. Then post-detoxification motivation should also be there, and other drugs like disulfiram, naltrexone, fluoxetine, acamprosate, topiramate, and of course baclofen is very useful, but in very high doses baclofen is useful. Then we have to choose the drugs through a process of active discussion with the patient and the family members, because many times the economic factors are there, many times the individual factors are there. A sort of pharmacodynamics should also be understood by the doctors at the tertiary care level or the medical colleges. The role of the psychiatry department should focus on the education of the family, supporting the family as well, offer group educative sessions or individual educative sessions, and have relapse prevention programs, relapse management programs, or referrals, those with comorbidity, etc. So they should be for long-term inpatient stay should be there, as I've just emphasized, and to maintain the consultation liaison services for alcohol dependence in GHPUs, and should be able to run a program for non-dependent problem drinkers as well, because it is more important to address the people who are not dependent on alcohol, because they are at early stage of dependency, they are going to have it, and that is why it is the importance of prevention programs. So those programs are, again repeating, education is very important, then harm benefit balance should be discussed with the patient, disease models should be discussed with the patient, chronic relapsing model should be discussed to the patient, treatment options, outcome and benefits, and mortality risks in alcohol should be discussed with the patient. There's one model known as abstinence model, other is the harm reduction model. These days, these two things are going on simultaneously. Some people believe that it is the total abstinence which matters, and some people say not necessarily, we may just reduce the harms. Say, I'm giving you the example, for example, in cases of HIV, if we are giving them good syringes, so at least we are doing some harm is being reduced by using the sterilized syringe, which is being this program, National Syringe Exchange Program. A needle syringe exchange program is being done by NACO, so in many centers. So the idea is to reduce harm to the patients by way of preventing HIV and AIDS, the disease. So coming to the next. Now this slide is very important. In fact, I will like to say in this slide, what is there in its pyramid is lying down here. No? You can assume that first is the prevention phase. Next is the at-risk phase. Thank you very much. So this is the base of the pyramid. Here the patients who are not drinking, say, or who are drinking very less, so they should be prevented. And for further use of alcohol, we should try to focus abstinent or prevention in whatever forms. And this is the at-risk group. This group will go to the secondary care doctors, and harmful use group, at-risk group. We here can do brief counseling, or we can facilitate a self-change in the patient by virtue of so many things, by virtue of techniques, brief psychotherapies, counseling, listening to the patient. And this is the tip of the model. Here is the patient is dependent on alcohol, and here the treatment is as Dr. Chadha described. First we have to do detoxification, then we have to rehabilitation. So this is the group which comes to the medical college. This will remain in the secondary care. This group will remain in the villages, rural areas. So that is the issue has to be addressed to the rural areas. So there is a heterogeneous population, heterogeneous group of patients of alcohol addiction who can present with various types of presentations or various levels of addiction or not addiction to the doctors at different level. And we should be able to integrate care at all the levels. Then this is about, this may be a repetition. It is to understand about the alcohol use disorders, alcohol abuse, dependence, intoxication, withdrawal states, one case encephalopathy, Korsakoff syndrome are some of the brain disorders which I will focus here. Just for the youngsters, as there was a question in the morning that, genes are very important and environment is equally important. And it is an interaction between the two, biology and environment. That is how the disease of alcoholism is caused. But still I can just give a comment that it is a complex disorder. Complex disorder still needs to be, lot of things to be done. So there is a genetic contribution to drug abuse and addiction, overlapping with environmental influences that help make it a serious problem. Now based on the learning theories, taking drugs makes you feel good or euphoric, you are likely to continue. Then you will be taking drugs. This is called positive reinforcement. Not taking drugs makes you feel miserable. There is withdrawal. In order to avoid that, you will again start taking drugs. This is called negative reinforcement. I can just tell you in my life, I had my first beer when I passed first prof MBBS. And my students from Medical College Patiala, there was a green, hotel green. They all were happy, but I was brought on. I don't know how they brought me. But that was the first and the last chance in my life. So probably it was a negative enforcement or punishment. Some sort of behavior took place, but after that, that behavior was not repeated. So there may be individual with genes or without genes. So this is negative reinforcement. Further, we can go for clinical assessment, history taking, examination, physical examination is very important, psychological examination, then financial status of the patient is important, occupational level is important, family history, that history as far as law is concerned, legal implications of the patient. So all these things should be assessed when we are doing a clinical assessment of patient with alcohol dependence. Then we should go for the investigations, LFTs, blood alcohol concentration, USG abdomen, CBC, CXR, EKG, B12 levels, all these things. In my experience, I have seen that sometimes the alcoholics are not easy to brought to the hospital. Then I will just ask their family members, okay, you don't bring the patient to me, you bring the patient to a physician. I will just ring him and he will go for all these tests. And then you bring the patient to me. That, okay, let us consult the Department of Drug Addiction over there, कि there is some problem with your liver functions. आप बेटा शराब तो पी रहे हो, अब हम चलते हैं वहाँ डॉक्टरों के पास. और इस बहाने what I do, I will show them, I try to do counseling and will show them that this is a place where you can stay, a good place. There's no harm in being here for 7 days, 10 days. So that when the patient sees that place, sees the facilities, then he starts believing also, oh no, there is a treatment for this. Okay, if you don't want to stay with me, you can stay in a medical ward also. So like that we have to, manage the patients. And the investigations are helpful. Although they are not 100% helpful, but they just give us an idea about the liver function test. So all these, they give us idea where the patient is. Sometimes there is something is missing. Say even the more than, 100 milligrams of that OTPT levels, it helps me in motivating the patient that beta, your liver is getting spoiled. Now you stop your alcohol and we should seek treatment for it. So then we can use questionnaires, especially in the primary care setting, CAGE, audit, CYR, neuropsychological assessment in those with head injury. And then we have the emergency management. In this, basically two types of emergencies come to us. One is the intoxication and other is the alcohol withdrawal syndromes in various stages. I won't repeat intoxication symptoms. Management, again, I won't repeat. Basic, it is the cardiovascular and respiratory support is very important. Blood pressure should be maintained. Intravenous fluids are very important. And assess for other drug use, especially benzos or opioids, and closely monitor till the patient starts having the withdrawal symptoms. Now, monitoring the alcohol withdrawal, these are the tools. Then these are the symptoms. These are the, it can begin within 24 hours. There was a multiple choice questions in which 18 hours तक दिया था भाई साहब आपने, 24 घंटे तो लिखा ही नहीं, तो फिर मैंने तो 18 hours कोई मार्क कर दिया था. Last up to 5 days, 90% of cases do not go beyond this stage. Then we have the, mostly untreated phase 1 go to phase 2, stage 2. Hallmark in stage 2 is the presence of visual hallucinations. Stage 3 is 2% mortality in these cases. There may be disorientation to time, place and person, and lability of mood. And most important symptom is the clouding of consciousness. The consciousness of the patient is not clear. He is having confusion. And of course, patient is very fearful in delirium tremens. His hands are trembling, very fearful. He is hallucinating. He is having visual hallucinations or tactile hallucinations. For younger, you may, when you go into the medical wards, you may see that there are patients who are lying restlessly in the bed, tossing up and down in the bed. You may be surprised that they are medical patients, but many of them come out to be patients suffering from alcohol addiction, or they are just having delirium due to many other medical causes. Delirium is a medical emergency. It can be because of fever, malaria, typhoid, etc. So like that. The aims of our treatment are that we have to relieve the distress of the patient, we have to prevent more serious symptoms, or we have to foresee the worsening of symptoms, and we have to utilize this opportunity for long-term treatment, keep the patient in the hospital for a long time, and go with drugs for long-term management. Detox pharmacology, not repeating. This is about disulfiram. Many of the youngers may not be knowing how the disulfiram acts. It is not the some biochemical change which the disulfiram produces. It is a reaction of the alcohol with the within the body, that acetaldehyde that chemical which causes a reaction which raises the aldehyde level in the blood, which causes the aldehyde syndrome, and which leads to the development of various symptoms like flushing of face, sweating, hypotension, respiratory distress, etc. So in fact the patient has to be told कि भैया आपने शराब पीनी है या डाइसल्फिराम खानी है. You have to select one of the paths. So those who are not motivated, they may consume both the things and develop reaction, and may not develop reactions. Those who may not develop reaction, they may say डॉक्टर तो ऐसे ही कहते हैं, मेरे तो कुछ नहीं हुआ. Those who develop reaction, they may take you to trouble. कोर्ट के डॉक्टर साहब मेरे को तो आपने ऐसे ही परेशान कर दिया, हमने तो अपने लड़के की शराब छुड़ानी है ना कि इसको मरवाना है. घर वाले ऐसे भी कह सकते हैं. So definitely we have to take care of the patient's life. That's more important. And that is why in disulfiram therapy is called deterrent therapy. उसके मन में डर पैदा करना है. और once he is stabilized on disulfiram for few days, then the patient usually does not take. Metronidazole can also cause a reaction. Informed written consent is the most important thing. And always monitor the liver enzymes in the cases who are taking disulfiram, because disulfiram has its own drug actions, like action on the liver enzymes. These are the anti-craving agents these days being used: naltrexone, acamprosate, and then topiramate and baclofen. I have the experience of using all of them, and still I can just say that it is a hit and trial method, I think, most of the time. It is not sure that which drug will be effective in which state. In type A alcoholics, it may be naltrexone. In type B, it may be different. In some other patients, sometimes no drugs are not required. It is only your counseling which is helpful. And topiramate is very helpful, especially when you find that there is a sort of mood dysregulation in patient. Patient says, well, there is a depression, sometimes mania, sometimes cheerful, sometimes outgoing. These types of patients can be helped better with topiramate, because topiramate is a drug which is a mood stabilizer as well, just as lithium or sodium valproate. Baclofen, as far as the literature is concerned, its doses have been recommended up to 60 milligram a day, but it is being reported by many people that more than 100 milligrams a day is more helpful in the management of alcoholism. This is about relapse prevention. Patient is continuing drug using in spite of your treatment, still dependent on it. He may be abstinent following your treatment. Then he may lapse, single episode of drug use after treatment. Then he may relapse, again coming to the dependent phase. So warning signs of relapse are, he may be socializing with the drug users. Always try to tell the patient कि जो अपने दोस्त हैं उन्होंने छड़ दो पई तुसीं उत्थे ना जाया करो, अपनी कंपनी चेंज कर लो, चेंज योर एनवायरनमेंट, सोशलाइजिंग कम कर दो. मिसिंग ट्रीटमेंट अपॉइंटमेंट्स, अपने अपॉइंटमेंट्स ना मिस करो, साढ़े कोल रेगुलरली आओ. साढ़े कोल आओगे तो कुछ सीख के जाओगे, काउंसलिंग होएगी तुहाडी. नशे बारे आओगे नाले हॉस्पिटल आओगे तो तुहाडा टाइम अच्छा बीतेगा. यू आर कमिंग एज ए पेशेंट. इफ़ यू गो टू ए शॉप ऑफ वाइन, यू विल बी गोइंग देयर एज ए क्रिमिनल. You may have a feeling in your mind कि मैं शराब खरीदने चले हाँ. You may have a quarrel with your wife or the family members, but when you come to the hospital, you have a status. So then it is experiencing the increased boredom. So try to encourage the patient to have alternative activities for entertainment and significant increase in the thoughts of using alcohol. जब ये सारी चीज़ें हैं तो फिर relapse होने के chances बहुत बढ़ जाते हैं. The high risk situations are availability of money, contact with other alcohol users, leisure time, urges and temptations in the patient's minds, emotional states, and comorbid conditions. So these are high risk situations. Take them in mind or try to ask the patient about these situations. Now the coping strategies for such patients are to stay away from people who use alcohol, not keeping alcohol at home, leaving money at home, remind the self again and again that I have to abstain from alcohol, telling the self that benefits of not taking alcohol, handling feelings of anger and frustration. I just remember a small anecdote. There was a friend of mine, he was called for a lecture on alcoholism by Rotary Club in Amritsar. I was also called for a lecture. He was asked to tell about the demerits of alcohol, and I was asked to tell about the merits of alcohol. We were given 15 minutes each. He took all the half an hour and told the audience and me, Dr. Garg, you can go now. There is no demerit of alcohol. Only it has merits. Then, thank you very much for careful listening. I think I have not taken more than 50 minutes, Professor Chadha. Last night, I got a message from WhatsApp from a friend. Reality is an illusion created due to the lack of alcohol. I thought this part of my slide was just a bit empty. I thought to put it here so that you may keep thinking about it in your life to come. And I'm not concluding it, that's why. So that our debate, our thinking, our feelings, our research continues about alcohol. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm here for questions. Yes, sir? This is your slogan? No, it's but a message I got from a friend who might be alcoholic or might not be, but he gave me this. No, this is like a slogan. It may be a slogan in the evenings.
Excuse me, sir. I have a question. Sir, here.
Yes, sir.
So my question is, in your first slide, there was written problem drinking. Like after 15 days, if someone is drinking and beating his wife, then it is a problem.
Yeah.
Sir, but most of the people don't think that drinking is a problem, and most important, beating your wife is a problem. What about those people? Those people who do not consider themselves as a patient, who do not come to clinics, primary health centers and all, who used to sit in their villages and homes and taking alcohol and whatever is going on and going on. So what to do with those mentalities?
Only thing is I can say that keep on listening to these people and ultimately you will get a solution. Problem is both the cases you say, beating the wife is also a problem, drinking is also a problem. So, but you can take the advantage of problem drinking and motivate the husband to come and talk to you. There may be some underlying problems. Personality disorders are very common reasons. Some people are depressive, some people are schizoid, some are obsessive, some are anxious. That is why they are using alcohol.
Like
And
I belong to a village, and I belongs to a village.
Okay.
And in my village, if you're not drinking alcohol, especially if a man, then it is a negative point in your character.
You are very right. I too have been, teased by my friends. Are you a woman? Have a peg, drink. So it does not matter. There are so many people in this society who drink. But our effort is to just help the person. इसके लिए मैं आपको एक उदाहरण दे सकता हूँ सिंपल लैंग्वेज में. एक साधु थे, वो बैठे थे समुद्र के किनारे में. एक बिच्छू आता था, वो उसको डंक मारता था. साधु उसको उठाता था, बिच्छू उसको डंक मारता था. साधु फिर उसको पानी में से निकाल देता था. वो फिर आता, फिर डंक मारता, फिर पानी से निकालता. ऐसे चलता रहा. मतलब तो ये है, हमारी एफर्ट्स चलती रहेंगी. एफर्ट्स कंटिन्यू करनी है. आपके विलेज में बहुत से लोग होंगे, नो डाउट. आई टू बिलोंग टू विलेज and so many people drink. Even in my family, one of my cousin brothers was a hardcore alcoholic. I gave him lithium when I started becoming a psychiatrist. And he started worshipping me after that. He put my photograph in his house. He said कि पुरुषोत्तम मेरे वास्ते तू ही रब है. मैं शराब छड़ देती है, मैं बिल्कुल ठीक रहना है. पहला मैंने गली चो उठा के लेंदे हुंदे सीगे. Yes, sure.
Again, I want to congratulate you. At least a girl has come forward to ask a question. As far as the rural areas concerned of India, the people, especially the villages who are rich, when they have a son who's even about 9 or 10 years, they'll say, Beta, tu bhi pee. They encourage and introduce, because by their fathers, grandfathers, and this has been going on because they think it is the richness, it is the culture, and nothing bad about it. Second, as far as beating is concerned, fault of the man and the fault of the woman. The woman accepts it and the man continues. To cut it short, I remember when I got married, once my mother-in-law was saying that as when we were small, in our villages and other places, the man used to beat, and we could not say anything. It was said that man is the boss. So I said, Mom, if anything happens as far as I am concerned, I'll take my shoe and I'll hit back the man who does it. And this I told to my mother-in-law in front of my husband. I said, nip the evil in the bud. I respect my mother-in-law. She stayed always, she liked it. So the solution to your problem is, don't give up. Go to the rural, think rural, that what brought them, and give the solution, create a positive atmosphere for a man. Quite often men who lack confidence, and if a lady is more beautiful or more innovative or other, man gets jealous and starts doing many things. So forget it. So never give up, and I feel very happy that you found a problem. You'll do a research, and I'll come back to you if I'm living to ask how much improvement you did in your village.
Really, you have done a wonderful job. In fact, I always try to focus myself on the problems of women. Especially the women are, suffering both ways. Both ways they are suffering. The husbands are drinking, women are suffering. Either the husband dies, they are widows, again suffering. The sisters are suffering, wives are suffering, mothers are suffering. So suffering for the women is definitely much more. And I am very sensitive to it. And you will be pleased to know that I have announced totally free treatment to the children of widows in my center. So this is the first thing I have learnt in my life, that we must respect our women. And our women are the ones who can save our country. I believe that also. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, here. I have a question. Sir, here.
Yes, sir, please.
Sir, we are talking about framing a national policy on alcohol-free India or like this then. But we know that even if the government takes any steps, the people will remain as they are. Very little change will occur. So what are the other steps we as clinicians can take in the society to create alcohol-free India?
Of course, as far as these things are concerned, I think these might be discussed today evening up to now. I think so many things will come out. But only thing I can tell you out of my own feelings, that Punjab suffered a lot of terrorism, and terrorism was not finished by the government. It was the people who finished it. And similarly, this drug terrorism, problems of alcohol, drug addiction will be finished by the people only. Ultimately, we have to unite and fight out these problems from our society. So I think there will be definitely some issues like that. Definitely problem will be solved. Are you satisfied or not? No, not satisfied. Okay. In fact, yes.
Sir, I wanted to know the role of a doctor in the society.
The role has a doctor, lot of role in the doctor has. The doctor is required in schools, doctor is required in the villages, the doctor is required for the elderly, doctor is required for the children, for the industries. Everywhere the doctor is required. Doctor is one thing who can bring about a big change in the life of a country, not life of citizens only. He can change a country. हमारे मिनिस्टर भी तो अब डॉक्टर हैं हर्षवर्धन जी. So doctor can do a lot. He has a lot of role to play. It's the way you take it. It's the way you take it. You take the things. I take it boldly and in that way, and I think we can change it. Sir.
I don't know why the doctors has a plenty to do. Number one, awareness. Abroad, they had taken the wine bottles And in the campaign, they had put in some embryos, some fetus or other. What I'm saying is, whatever the culture other, the doctors can find best methods of creating awareness. That is one. Number two, counseling, very important. Third, harmful effects. As far as most important is, never let a patient feel that he is bad. Don't make judgments. Put yourself in the patient's position as if you are an alcoholic and you have come to a doctor. And then treat. There are so many modalities. You'll say about the harm, then you'll say hospital, prevention. So I would say a doctor has a very good role. And you as the youngsters, each one of you, if you write 5 points on prevention, one of you, 5 on counseling, 5 on the lecture that we have, that how to treat primary, 5 on the district level, 5 on the final point level, somebody on the social point of view, will create a wealth of knowledge. You doctors have immense. You just have to gather. I don't mean to say that you start drinking. Have a beer if you want to, half a pint.
Thank you, Dr.
We can conclude the session at this stage, and I'll invite I'm thankful to Dr. Pidikar for his very informative session.
Thank you.
Which brought